Hey, welcome back. Michelle Lee here. I am the co-founder of the Sophia Mystery School with my daughter. And I am also a women's empowerment coach for over 20 years. And I help empowered professional women create their extraordinary life. And that's what I want to talk to you about today is that you have an extraordinary timeline. And what I mean by that is there is a timeline and an experience, an aspect of you that is already living your extraordinary life. And today I want to talk to you about how to align with that timeline, because all timelines are available to you. I remember many years ago when I first became certified in hypnotherapy, and I was running weight reduction groups and using hypnosis to help women lose weight and create their amazing body. And I was sharing with them that version of themselves, that lighter, healthier version of themselves already existed. And that is so true about your extraordinary life. And so that version of you living the most extraordinary life is already created. It's already available to you. And there's a few steps that you get to take to align with that extraordinary life. And the first step is to define what extraordinary is to you, right? What would your extraordinary life look like if you were living it? That means how you feel when you wake up in the morning, how you're spending your days, who you're spending your days with. How are you expressing yourself? What is your divine work? Florence Scovel talks about our divine expression, and that means that is our service to the world. What service are we doing? And that may mean maybe you want to be retired and being in a state of absolutely time freedom to do whatever you want all of the time. And even that is creates a vibration that creates heaven on earth for others. So living your extraordinary life can definitely be the service that you are providing for humanity, because people get to see you living that extraordinary life and you are being an example of what is truly possible. So what your relationships look like, are you single and free? Are you in a love relationship? How does that relationship feel to you? How do you experience each other? Where do you live? Right? Do you travel all of the time? What is your physical health like? All of that comes into play, including the frequency. Do you feel peaceful, calm, supported, free, sovereign in every way? Do you spend more time meditating, more time writing, whatever it is you feel like you can't do now, that something else has to happen outside of you in order to do that? Those are the things, right? Like, that's what I would do. If everything was perfect in my life, I would be writing. I would be taking lots of personal development courses, whatever it is, right? So the first step to living your extraordinary life and aligning with that extraordinary timeline is defining what it looks like. This is super important, and it can be incredibly challenging for some people because our inner critic is like on the ball, right? Like, before you can even express this idea of what extraordinary would be, your inner critic is going, that's not possible. That's selfish to want that. That's selfish to expect that. That's selfish to, whatever your inner critic is saying, like, you can't have that. That's impossible. Whatever it is, that inner critic really jumps in quickly. And my experience in talking to women and saying, okay, what is your ideal life? They'll say, I don't know. And the truth is that you do know, everyone knows, but that inner critic has jumped in so quickly that you're second guessing yourself in really defining. You're afraid of sounding stupid or dreamy or selfish or self-absorbed, right? So you truly do know what your extraordinary life looks like. It's giving yourself permission to verbalize it. It's giving yourself permission to journal it, right? So that is your first assignment. That's the first step to aligning with that extraordinary timeline. We have been taught as a culture that life is a sacrifice, right? I mean, this is a huge program running inside the matrix that runs counter to the divine truth, that there is nothing to sacrifice. We do live in infinite abundance. We've been taught that we have to sacrifice time for money, or we can sacrifice money for time. We can't have both. That's a program that is not the divine truth, but that is a program that gets in the way of truly designing our extraordinary life. So just understand that that is a program. The divine truth is wired within us. I say it's within the heart. All of the divine truths is held within that heart, that I am good, I am lovable, I am wanted, I am a blessing. We live in an infinitely abundant universe, and what that truly means, right? So it's releasing those programs that, oh, if I say yes to my extraordinary life, my partner is going to be sacrificed, my children are going to be sacrificed, my parents are going to be sacrificed, whatever it is, right? Whatever the sacrifice in your mind is, there's something. So understanding that these stories that come up are programs, but they are not the truth, the divine truth with a capital T. And understanding those programs coming up leads us to the very next step, right? Step two in aligning with your extraordinary life is to really become aware and explore those stories, those belief systems that you have identified with, and that maybe they have become a part of your identity even. Those victim stories, the story about sacrifice. And on yesterday's video, we talked about reclaiming your power. So those stories, those programs actually are holding a part of your soul hostage, right? And so reclaiming your power from those stories is critical to aligning with that ideal timeline. You cannot align with harmony, freedom, abundance, peace, unconditional love, which are all frequencies of your extraordinary life. Those are the frequencies. You cannot align with those frequencies as long as you have relinquished your power to other people, to other circumstances, to belief systems around money, or around selfishness, or around sacrifice, right? So the second step, a part of that, is reclaiming your power, calling back into you the aspect of yourself that has identified those programs as truth, that has identified them as truth with a capital T, but they're truth with a little t, only because you have allowed them to be truth. You have allowed them, you've actually desired them to be your truth. That is part of the incarnation on the planet, is to experience yourself as the opposite of who you truly are. And so if you're watching this video, you're like ready to take off that cloak and embody your divinity and embody more aspects of your higher self, to create your heaven on earth, to create your extraordinary life. That's what we're doing here. The second part of step 2 is looking at those lower vibrational emotions, right? We talked about those as being the 4 core wounds: guilt, shame, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment. If those pieces are running underneath your consciousness at a subconscious level, they are affecting, without you even knowing it, the decisions you make, how and what you say yes to, how or when you hold back and deny your soul's calling. Those keep you at a low vibration. Shame and guilt are the lowest frequency emotions on the chart by, I don't remember his name, but in the book Power versus Force, right? He talks about the vibration, the frequency of certain emotions. Shame is the bottom one, right? And so within this matrix that we live, it can be a challenge to release shame and guilt. We've actually been programmed to believe, we've been conditioned to believe that shame and guilt make us good people, right? If you look back, maybe you have learned through religion, it's the religions that have taught this, that we're born sinners, we're going to make mistakes, we are bad people. But what makes us good is that we feel guilty or ashamed of our past behavior. That flies in the face of divine truth, right? We are not bad people. We are not born in sin. We are not shameful individuals, and acknowledging that shame is what makes us good. We are innately good. And our extraordinary life timeline is a manifestation of our embodiment of that innate goodness. And that brings us quite naturally to step 3 of embodying the divine truth. How do we do this, right? So first we define our extraordinary life, and then we release those old stories. We reclaim our power. We do the healing work around the shame and the guilt and the fear of rejection and fear of abandonment, which are very connected to the shame and the guilt, right? And then we embody, right? We know, we don't just know at a cognitive, logical level that I am divinity and I live in this abundant world and I am worthy of it. We get to know it at a heart level, embody it, live it. And how we do that is through the actions that we take. Some of the simpler actions that you can take that is a blanket. You know, if you're listening to this applies to you. Now, my private clients, I dive deep into their psyches, their beliefs, their understandings, and they learn personally what are the actions they can take to embody their divinity more quickly. This does not have to be a long, drawn out process. Everything is accelerated when you work with these tools and you're going for those root levels. So just so you know that this gets to be an accelerated process. But one thing you can do to embody the truth, capital T, of your divinity is to take time for yourself, make time for yourself. Especially as women, in my decades of working with women and being a woman, I understand, you know, it's like, oh, once I get this done, once I do this, once I get all of this done, once all the laundry's done, once the grocery shopping's done, once I take care of this for mom and dad, once I take care of this for the kids, once I take care of this for my husband, then I will take time for myself. And by then it's the evening and you're conked out. You have no energy left. So when you make yourself a priority and make time for yourself, the number one priority on your list of things to do taking care of yourself, which means if you want to paint, you paint. If you want to write, you write. If you want to become a marathon runner, you become a marathon runner first and foremost. And that frequency that gets set out to the world is literally screaming, I am worthy. I am worthy of my time. I am worthy of my effort. So doing that right there, that takes you into the embodiment. Now, your psyche may be saying, how can I do that? Don't do that. I can't do that. What will happen? Everything's going to fall apart. I had this experience myself in being an entrepreneur for almost 3 decades. Many of those years as a single mom. I am just now an empty nester, and doing that as a single mom, I would grind and grind and grind and work constantly. And then after my kids were older, I could work more hours because they were more independent, right? So I would find myself up early in the morning working, taking a lunch break, working all afternoon, taking a dinner break, and then even working in the evening, spinning my wheels, not really taking care of myself, thinking once I reach this level of income and once I reach that level of income, then I can take time for myself. That is completely backwards. You are generating the frequency of lack and limitation, right? I have to grind, I have to spend all of my time, I have to sacrifice my time for money. You're absolutely, the harder you work, the more frequency of lack and limitation are you radiating out. So when you make yourself the top priority, I was just having a conversation with one of my clients this past week. She says, I've been taking 3 hours in the morning for myself, and I feel kind of guilty about it, right? And that's from that old programming. I'm like, okay, well, you get to release the guilt and understand that when you are taking that action of deep self-care 3 hours in the morning, you are doing more for your business than you would be if you're grinding, because you're in receptive mode. And that is where women get in the most trouble, is they don't receive, right? And so when you allow yourself to receive for an hour, 20 minutes, this client, she is allowing herself to receive 3 hours every day before she goes into work, right? You're in receptive mode and you're actually screaming to the universe, I am worthy. I am worthy of my time. I am worthy of receiving this unconditional love, this unconditional support, this luxury, right? And that puts out a whole different frequency. It puts out a frequency of prosperity, abundance, opulence. So those are the 3 steps of aligning with your extraordinary timeline, your extraordinary life timeline. Now, for each individual, there's going to be some micro adjustments and little tweaks that affects just you, because you have your own programming, you have your own experiences in the past. But as a general rule, if you do these 3 things, and you are going to transform your life, your relationships will transform, your income will skyrocket, your sense of self-confidence and self-esteem will also skyrocket, which is so important because that's what allows you to receive all of the benefits of living an extraordinary life. Hey, so that's it for today. I will be back for tomorrow. I am taking applications for private clients. My clients are typically successful women who are in business, either for themselves or for others, and you're reaching that level of you're kind of plateauing. Maybe you're not as satisfied or joyful in your life right now. Maybe you have great financial success and you're lonely. You don't have great relationship success, and you're seeking that extraordinary life on all levels, a deeper spiritual experience, deeper knowing of yourself, being able to be vulnerable and intimate with those around you, a deeper, meaningful relationships, along with greater financial success and security. So I've got my application. If you're interested in learning more, you can fill out a brief application and get yourself on my calendar. Here is to your extraordinary life. See you next time. Remember to hit the like button and subscribe and hit that little bell so that you get notified when a new video drops. Mwah. Bye for now.